People are slowly trickling in, so we'll just go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome. On behalf of IIDA Southern California chapter, I'd like to welcome and thank everyone who is joining today. My name is Taleen Malikian with Blue Space Interiors. I am the co-director of IIDA-SoCal's Orange County City Center. Shadima Obuka and I are the co-chairs for today's event, brought to you by the OC City Center. We are so excited to be hosting our second Recipe for Design virtual event this year. Today, we're featuring the OCC Kinesiology and Aquatics Pavilion, designed by Little Diversified Architectural Consulting. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our 2021 chapter sponsors at the patron, donor, and friend level. Thank you as well to our design partners, AECOM, Gensler, HOK, Oculus, and Walcott. We are so grateful for all our sponsors, their many contributions, and continued support. A very special thank you to Interface and Dell Tile for sponsoring today's event. Interface and Dell Tile actually worked with Little in providing products and services for the project being featured today. And I'd like to just read this on behalf of Interface. Interface Inc. is a global commercial flooring company with an integrated collection of carpet tiles and resilient flooring, including luxury vinyl tile and Nora rubber flooring. Our system of products works together to create beautiful interior spaces which positively impact the people who use them and our planet. Our mission, Climate Take Back, invites other companies to join us as we commit to running our business in a way that is restorative to the planet and creates a climate fit for life. And this bit on behalf of Dell Tile. Being featured is the Mesmerist wall tile. Color, shapes, and sizes are what makes our newest wall tile, Mesmerist, a hit. It is a handmade look at a mid-level price point. As the nation's top tile manufacturer, we abide by the highest industry standards. From corporate ethics to sustainability, our commitment to our customers remains the same, creating quality products that people and businesses can believe in and trust. Get to know the leader in ceramic, porcelain, mosaics, and innovative solutions better. Thank you again, Interface and Dell Tile, for graciously sponsoring this special event to make this recipe for a design tour available to our chapter and the IIDA community. I would like to now present our presenters, introduce our presenters. We have first Rita S. Carter. She's a principal at Little. In everything she does, Rita believes in leaving the world a better place through the power of human-centered design. As an architect and humanitarian, she combines her love for design with her passion for community service, youth education, and team building. Rita has over 16 years of experience working on a myriad of national and international projects. As a higher education studio principal with Little's Newport Beach office, she focuses on projects that support student success across California community colleges and universities. She focuses on developing the client's visions from idea inception to design implementation through permitting, construction completion, and occupancy. She believes project success arises from cultivating personal relationships with her clients through open communication, superior service, and design excellence. Rita received her Bachelor of Architecture from Cal Poly Pomona and her Master of Science in Advanced Architectural Design from Columbia University. Rita is the recipient of Building Design and Construction Magazine's 40 Under 40 Award, class of 2018, as the Steadfast Educator. We also have Michael Sutliff, Dean of Kinesiology and Athletics at OCC. Michael spent the first 18 years of his career working at universities in 3 different states, with his last position at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where he earned the rank of full professor with tenure. He's worked as a professor, researcher, program coordinator, single subject coordinator, and department chair while employed by the College of Science and Math and the College of Education at Cal Poly. Since earning his doctorate in 1992 and starting his career in higher education, he's published over 20 research papers in refereed journals and presented over 40 professional papers at state, regional, and national conferences. His areas of research Interests included teaching and learning with at-risk and homeschool students, instructional effectiveness, and sports law. He left the university in 2010 to become a dean and has been Dean of Kinesiology and Athletics at Orange Coast College since 2012. Michael's construction experience started after graduating from high school, where he worked as a laborer for Dillingham Construction International in San Diego. Those summer opportunities helped pay for his undergraduate education and supported his efforts in the kinesiology and athletics project we are presenting today. And lastly, we have Jason Keller, Athletics Director at OCC. Jason Keller is entering his 6th year as the Athletics Director at Orange Coast College and his 16th year working in the California Community College Athletic Association. At OCC, Keller works with all 25 intercollegiate athletic teams at the campus with a focus on supporting success both in competition and in the classroom. Prior to joining the staff at OCC, Keller began his career at nearby Santa Ana College for 10 years. After serving as SAC Sports Information Director for 8 years, Keller was named the Assistant Director of Athletics and Sports Information, a position he held for 2 years. Within the 3C2A, Keller has contributed to the statewide association as he has worked on various committees and served on executive committees of professional organizations. Currently, he is a member of the 3C2A Management Council, where he is the representative of men's volleyball, while also serving as the president of the Metro League in the Southern California Football Association. During his stint as a sports information director, Keller was the president of the California Community College Sports Information Association. Again, on behalf of IIDA-SoCal chapter and our OC City Center, I'd like to welcome you all to today's Recipe for Design tour with these amazing presenters I've just introduced. A quick bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter them into the Q&A feature, not the chat feature, the Q&A feature. We'll have time at the end to address any questions. And without further ado, Little and OCC, please take it away.
Thank you, Talin. I appreciate that very generous introduction. And so we are very excited to be here with you today, sharing our project at Orange Coast College, which we were very excited about. We want to thank IIDA for inviting us to participate in this. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Michael to talk about our recipe for design.
Hi, everybody. So in terms of the recipe for design, we decided to take an academic approach to this particular structure. And so we asked ourselves really 3 key questions. The first one is, well, what is a recipe? And then the second one is, how do you obtain the right ingredients? And then the third one is, well, what are the ingredients that we ended up with? And so with that said, real simply, the recipe is a set of instructions for preparing a particular dish, or in our case, a project or a facility. And so in that, we discovered, look, what are the key things that's going to get us to the right ingredients? And so there's really 5. And if you notice, we decided to capture the Olympic rings in our 5 little ideas here. But the first one is vision and goals. We want to make sure we fully understand that. And then the second one is the direction and the process. How do we get to our purpose and how do we get to our outcomes? What are all the different elements that we need to be aware of when we're going through our process of selecting our ingredients? And then the next one is the volume of ingredients. We've got budget restraints, we've got space or footprint constraints. And so what are those elements that we want to be mindful of? And then the last 2 elements are super important, which is we wanted to start with the end in mind. So that deals with the product itself, and then it deals with the community. We're going to be developing a project that's extremely important for the OCC community, but it's also important for the Orange County community and the state community. And then our hopes are it would be important for the national community, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. So after we went through all of those types of discussions, we really just came down to these 5 core ingredients. And the first one is the people. Who are the people that we're going to be serving? And what are their needs, and what are they going to be utilizing, and how are we going to maximize, you know, those particular needs? And so we, again, as I mentioned earlier, we looked at the local community, the state and regional communities. Another key thing that we had to be mindful of is we were really meeting the aspirational needs of current people, but we also had to be mindful of future people. The building that we had vacated that was old was actually 50 years old. And so when those people were building their building 50 years ago, they were thinking of us in the future. We had to do the same thing. So we wanted to be mindful of those future users. The next element was the aesthetic and artistic appeals. Those are huge elements that you're going to see throughout our project, but that third ingredient is super key. Again, limitations in volume. We have space limitations, we have money limitations. We want to make sure that those particular ingredients are fully understood as we move forward. And then the last thing, the four things above are critical, but they're not going to work effectively. We're not going to get these right ingredients if we don't have the proper collaboration, the proper communication, and the proper connections. All of those three things deeply reflect a public-oriented project. And so we had to be mindful of that. We were engaging with a multitude of constituent groups. And so collaboration, communication, and connections, those three C's really drove our project. So in summary, our ingredients were critical to the success of our projects, and we really felt we were able to apply those right ingredients. Now, the last thing I want to say, and it's super important to know, a recipe is both practical and theoretical. It provides direction and guidance, but it also allows for individual creativity and expression. And that's important when we think about the people that we're empowering. So we have two different stories that we're going to start with. And the first one is an adaptive student, a special needs student. And we want to be mindful that these are real stories, that these are stories that are from people that this project and this facility is going to impact. So this particular individual who gave me this quote, his name is Mike. And the quote basically is, and you can see it there on the left, the new facility will save my life, literally. Mike is a cerebral palsy individual. He's got 3 kids. His wife died a couple years ago, and he's been with the OCC adaptive program for about the last 15 years. He relies on this program because this program literally gets him out of his chair. We've got new equipment and new facilities that allow him to use our gait trainer, our standing frame. We have a flexerciser that allows him to have biking action, even though he's so restrictive in his movements. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, Mike has experienced tremendous atrophy in his legs and his arms. And so he is so eager to get back in fall when we do come back. And this program allows him to have physical activity and physical exercise 2 days a week, critical for his physical and emotional health. And we also have an adaptive pool that we're going to be showing here shortly. And that pool is key for allowing the circulation and those things that are connected to those confines of gravity. He's moved out of that environment that's static, and he's moved in more of a dynamic environment with the pool. And it really just has helped, or will help, his general wellness. So we're very excited about this facility. And as you can suspect, we haven't been able to utilize it yet, but we will be utilizing it come fall. So that's Mike. That's his story. Jason's going to be introducing a story about a student athlete. And so Jason, you're up.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, along with kinesiology and adaptive PE, as Michael was talking about, this facility and project had a major component in the athletics department with our teams. And at OCC, we are the largest in the California Community College Athletic Association with 25 intercollegiate teams. And one of the things that we really pride ourselves in, along with being a very competitive department, is we have great facilities. But there was one obvious area that needed some help, and that was our swimming pool. We were in a pool that did not meet NCAA regulations, we were unable to host swim meets, and we were very limited in hosting water polo meets, which brings us to our student athlete, Journey Werner. Here's Journey with a few of her gold medals. Journey was a perfect athlete that was able to transition with the pool, in that over her 9-10 years of competitive water polo and swimming, she was explaining to me that she never had a proper pool that she was able to train in. She was at schools that didn't have their own pool. They had to work out at offsite facilities. And when she came to OCC, her first year was in our old swimming pool. So she was able to do an entire water polo season, and then her first swim season was cut short with the pandemic. When we were able to finish this project, Journey became one of the first student athletes to use the new pool when we returned earlier this spring. And we hosted a water polo scrimmage, and then eventually had a swim and dive season where we hosted 2 swim meets, including our Orange Empire Conference Swim Championships. And that was a great step for our program, specifically for our swimmers, to be able to train in a pool that met their winning caliber. So I mentioned we were not able to host swim meets, but we still won a lot of state championships in swim and dive. In fact, we are still the defending champions in swim and dive, because it's been that long since we've had a championship. And when you talk to Journey about that pool and about what it meant to swim in it, she lights up, and she talks about the feeling that she gets of being in a facility that is beautiful. And she talks about the environment that you feel when you're in a facility like that. And she referred to it as a new home quite a bit. And then, the best way to end this story, Journey's journey, if you will, that was a pun she used, so I'm going to borrow it from her. She did compete in the swim and dive conference championships, where she was no stranger to the podium. She won 3 individual events and was a member of the 4x100 relay team that also won first place. And those are the medals that you see around her neck. And so from Journey, I will hand it back to Rita to go into the project.
Thank you, Jason. So one thing I want to just preface before I dive in is to keep in mind, this is a public education project. And so with many of these, we are always facing how we're going to balance between the aesthetic as well as technical execution, while also passing the education building code. So there's a lot of ingredients there in play as we tackle this project. And believe it or not, this project inception started in 2010 with the master plan envisioned for 2020. In 2012, a bond measure passed that was able to fund this project to move forward. And in 2015, the college brought on board a consultant to help them program what this new facility might need. So to help them understand both the individual components that made up the building, but also how much it may cost to move forward. Little came on board in 2017 when we interviewed for this project, and we were asked to conduct the interview as a kickoff visioning session. And what we did with that and what we extracted out of that is really the understanding from the college, from Michael and Jason and others in the interview, that this facility really is to be an iconic face to the campus. It is to be inclusive and diverse, welcoming all in the community. And it is to be a state-of-the-art facility supporting OCC's very strong program. So with that in mind, when we won the project, we took that and ran with it. And that was the basis of that drove everything, all the communication we did, all the design decisions that we had as well. It took about 21 months to both design this project and get it permitted through the division of the state architect. And equally, it took about 21 months to build it through the CM at risk delivery method. Today, it is occupied. This project was actually finished last year, but because of COVID, I think it's been sparingly used. I think some of the teams and some of the athletes were able to go in and use the facility, but as Michael mentioned, their hope and their goal is to fully utilize it in the fall, and we're excited for them for that. So I want to talk a little bit about both the design concept and the program organization to help orient how this project evolved. At first thought, this is a project that's supporting athletes. It's supporting folks with adaptive requirements. And so we took the concept of movement through the human body, movement through nature, and movement through architectural components that mimic nature. And that became our driving concept throughout the process. How this applies to the site is north is to your planned left on the screen. We utilize this concept of movement to cut through the site north to south, and that primary circulation became the driver to organize the program components. There's 3 primary entrances to this project. On the north is the main entrance where visitors and potential athletes and potential students will come and really interface with the faculty here. So this had to be a primary main entrance that is to wow and impress, right? We're attracting any and all folks of any and every talent to this facility. The second entry is to the west side. It's in the middle of the entire site. And this one is intended for community members. So folks who may be coming to utilize the facility, the program spaces to the left, but also the pool components. And the third entrance is whenever the campus is having any competitions or meets or is inviting a larger crowd than usual, we open up a third entrance to the southwest in order to allow a larger body of people to come through. So walking you through the program pieces again here, north is to the top left of the screen. We've got the faculty offices adjacent to the lockers and showers that are right off the pool deck. In the west bar, we've got athletic training, equipment management, cardio spaces, and adapted PE. I want to pause for a second to touch on this program piece, which is so critical to OCC. So adapted PE is a physical education program that allows folks with disabilities to be able to move in a similar way as able-bodied people. As Michael mentioned in his story about his student, this is such an integral part of the program. And so it's front and center at the primary community entrance. On the other side of that, we have a multi-purpose room community space. The intention again is that this is used for both folks who may be taking classes or community events, or folks who may be utilizing the pool. Next to that is our aquatic team rooms. And finally, our adapted pool, our athletic pool, and our bleachers that are covered by a shade canopy. So what are the ingredients of movement, the design concept of movement? What is it composed of when it comes to an architectural project? Well, we believe it's composed of potentially 3 things that are infused in the design. There's architectural geometry, there's the materials, and there's the human body. When it comes to architectural geometry, this is a pretty big facility. So there's moments of movement that we've tried to begin to infuse in elements such as the roof line. This is the primary entrance to the faculty offices. There's moments of movement in the facade. This is the west facade facing Adams Lot. And so when you're viewing this facade from afar, you definitely see the curves, the reflection of movement in the facade. Again, this is the community entrance up close, movement that draws you into it through the facade. When we're on the pool deck, we also see the roof line coming and hugging the adapted pool and going all the way back to the larger pool where the roof line curves and bends and dives into the deck. And Jason, I believe this pool is being utilized or was utilized not only by OCC students, but also an additional group, correct?
Yes, Rita, we were very excited. As Michael mentioned the Olympics earlier, it's that time of year. Right before the Olympics got underway, we were able to host the U.S. men's national water polo team for their under 16 age group evaluations. And so when we do talk about our pool, a lot of people like to look at it and go, wow, you have an Olympic-sized pool. And then we quickly remind them it's bigger than an Olympic-sized pool. Olympic pools at 50 meters, we have a 65-meter competition pool. And we were able to see some of the future men's water polo teams for our national team evaluated in our pool a few weeks ago.
Awesome, thank you. So other elements of movement happen in very geometric shapes. So these 2 walls that you're seeing here, the wave wall and the swimmer, these are very straightforward components, but they're composed of fin elements where as you're moving around the building, you're also getting the concept of movement between imagery. This will be showcased a little bit further in the video we'll be showing later on. Materials of movement, such as the application in this waiting room in the faculty offices, bringing the water movement into the space, and then movement of the bodies. So the architectural design decisions that were made in providing glass components in this corridor helps you to have a visual connection into the cardio room so that you're seeing the bodies in motion. This is inside the cardio room. This is our cheer and dance group having their exercise or their practice. And this is our adaptive workout space. Again, bodies in motion. So with that, I wanna give a special shout out to our team for this project. As I mentioned, this was a 10-year process. It started with Coast Colleges and Orange Coast College and having a vision for what they wanted their future building to be. We came on board to help them design it and see the vision come to life. CW Driver built the project. And as you could see, it took a whole host of consultants and engineers to help this project come to life. And for our finale, I want to turn it to Elliot to do our video fly through.
Awesome. Thank you guys for that amazing presentation. I haven't seen any questions come in on the Q&A feature. Does anyone on our panel have any questions? No?
I have some questions, if anyone else does not. So I just have a couple of questions and I would let others, so I don't have to pretty much be the only one asking questions here and steal the stage. But one of the things that came to my mind is I would love you guys to share some of the backstories of how you guys came about deciding to work together. Like how did you, I should ask Michael and Jason, how did you guys look for different architecture firms and how did you choose Little to do it? Because we know whenever we're working on a project, it takes several months to several years. So the relationship is something that is ongoing. It's a long-term relationship. And I can see the dynamic between all of you guys in how you've come together to create this beautiful project. So can you guys give us a little bit of a backstory about that? And Michael?
Yeah, I could start and jump in, and then Jason could definitely add. So the way it works is that once we identify that we're going to be able to build a project, then we host and offer groups and individuals the opportunity to interview and talk through with us about how they would go about building that project. And so you get quite a variety of different people that are submitting abstracts or submitting proposals. In Little's case, they came in not with a pre-concept or design, but they came in with the idea that they wanted to work with us and they wanted to better understand what our needs were, and they wanted to collaborate on the idea of the entire project, as opposed to some of the people that were presenting were basically saying, here, this is what we could build for you, or this is what you need. And Little was the opposite. They didn't come in with any preconceived ideas. Their presentation was about, what are your needs? And then after they conceptualized key elements to that, they talked about how they could meet those needs or work with us. So going back to those 3 C's, those were incredibly important, because it's like what you just said, it's a long-term relationship. And so that relationship is obviously important. And we were looking for someone that didn't have a preconceived idea, but really wanted to work with us, valued our input. And so that's what Little presented. In fact, that's what Little did. They did everything that they said they were going to do in that presentation. So that's how so that was huge in our selection process.
No, thank you. Thank you for answering that. And Rita, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to what Michael said, or Jason wanted to add any other information.
I was kind of coming up with an answer in my head as Michael was talking, and I was like, no, Michael said it. Okay, Michael said it. But it really, that feeling of collaboration. I mean, I still remember sitting in one of our classrooms at OCC that day that we were going through the interview process that Michael talked about, and walking away going, only one group really felt like they were listening to what we were saying and what we wanted. And Michael's right, they delivered on that throughout the whole process. We developed such a good rapport as a group with both Little and CW Driver that it wasn't obviously an easy process, but it felt really seamless. And without getting into specifics, I was working on another construction project on campus that felt like a night and day difference, where that other project was, here's what we're going to do and here's how we're going to do it. Do you have any feedback? No, thanks, we're moving on. And I was sitting there going, I have feedback. And so Little's ability to collaborate with us was such a key to our success, and really was why we were able to come out with such a wonderful building and facility.
That's great. No, thank you.
The only thing I will add is that I think that collaboration and really listening to the client is so important. And I was also pleased that Michael and Jason were involved, not just in the beginning design phases, but throughout construction. I mean, through the weekly OAC meetings with the contractor and my team, they were present to just make sure that they're weighing in on any design feedback that may be needed as we're building this thing, any design pivots we may need to have based on available materials or what have you. So I feel like, we come to the table wanting to collaborate, and it's always great too when we have a client who is as equally hands-on and collaborative as we would like ourselves and for them to be. So it was kind of a perfect fit.
Nice. We do have one question that came in through the Q&A feature. What was one of the biggest hurdles you faced while designing this project? Rita?
Would you like me to answer that, or Michael, did you want to?
Well, I could just say that one of the there was a mental hurdle where we were extremely concerned about resources. And because a lot of building was happening, and I was personally concerned, and I think Jason was, and I'm sure Rita was as well, is that as we were transitioning to the actual construction phase, there was a lot of worry about resources. And so I wouldn't say it was a hurdle per se, because it ended up not being a hurdle, but it was, I'll say it was a fear. And it was a very truistic fear.
We definitely celebrated when that shovel got put in the ground, right, Michael?
For sure. Yeah. and then I think that there was a hurdle of time. We were wanting to get things done in a very timely manner, and so Little was responsive, CW Driver was responsive. So I wouldn't say it was a hurdle, because we were very efficient with our construction calendar, and so anyway, that's all I can think of, really off the top of my head. I didn't really feel there was hurdles per se, but maybe there were. I'm not thinking of them.
Yeah, with every hurdle or challenge, there's opportunities, right? From our perspective, having received a program from the get-go to design towards, as we started designing, we quickly realized that the size of the program, the budget that we had wasn't necessarily going to work out for us. And in part, it had to do with escalation costs and volume of space to make sure the college has the right size spaces for what they need. And so we had to make some pivots along the way in understanding how we could best fit the program to the budget. And so a component of that included then renovating one of the existing buildings in order to help accommodate some of those components. I feel like that's kind of a challenge on every project, too much program for the budget. I think at some point we started with a 3-story building to give all the space and the grandiose to come and go and flow. In fact, the concept of movement was able to be seen much more easily in a 3-story building, but we had to dial it back once, our cost estimates started rolling in. But, this is part of the process in designing to budget. And I think this is usually the baseline challenge every team is faced with, but we were able to get there. We did it with the collaboration of the college and our team and our engineers, and we hit the nail on the head at the end of the day.
I have another question. Were there any sustainable or resilience goals that was incorporated as you guys designed this facility? And Rita, I guess I'll let you start first. Since you're
Yeah, sure. When we started this project, the college had with the notion of designing to, I believe it was LEED Silver equivalent. And so early on, I think we were looking at sustainable solutions as they get infused throughout the project, sustainable materials, and trying not to be wasteful and sourcing locally. So those, a lot of things kind of went into play when we were designing it. We didn't go for any LEED certifications. That wasn't the wish of the college, but every decision made with whether it's material chosen, whether it's carpet or tile or panel, metal panels, or what have you, was taken with that in mind. That's a general overview, but that's the honest truth.
No, that's great. That's great. You actually mentioned that there were materials and things that you guys put in there and thinking about sustainability and not wasting. So this is probably good too, because I'm sure this includes the materials that build tile and interface.
Yes.
Put in the space, which I kind of noticed as the video was going on and as you presented as well. So I don't know if you wanted to just touch on that or talk about that or.
Oh boy, Shadima, you're putting me on the spot. I don't remember the details of the specs. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
But one thing to keep in mind, as we're designing in California, the Cal Green Code is something we have to design too. And so when it comes to low VOCs, that's part of the code anyway, right? So I think there's low VOCs, there's minimum waste, there's recycled materials. I can't really dive into the details of all of that at the moment, but materials chosen are always looked at from a sustainable measure as well.
Right. No. I mean, you said it right. It's just I was asking that in regards to just the general overview of why one material was picked and why they worked together based on your design and your sustainable goals and things like that. But you answered it perfectly. So thank you.
I gave you a non-answer.
We do have another question that came in. What is each of the panelists' favorite design detail, element, or space within the facility? Maybe Jason or Michael can start with that. What's your favorite design detail, design element, or space within the facility?
I'll start. I will say, I think from a space standpoint, I'm most looking forward to our office space, particularly, and then I'll weave in the design side of that. In our old facility, we were broken up into 3 different buildings amongst our department. And so now we are going to be more centrally located with the majority of our staff in one area, which Michael and I have talked about a lot, hoping to build collaboration and connection with each other. Specifically within that space, there was one of the photos you saw is a seating lounge area that had the wavy tile on it, and that was something that that was, I'm going to give, Michael was the one behind that idea, and we spent a lot of time looking at tiles and picking one and just coming up with that feature wall and something to bring some interest into the space, specifically in an area where we saw ourselves sitting and meeting and collaborating. And again, we haven't had a chance to be fully staffed in there, but Michael and I have had a chance to sit in that area and talk, and it really does feel like it's achieved that goal of being a community space for our little community within the department.
I really like what Jason said. I would concur, and so I really can't build off of that because that's what I would have chosen. But the one design element that I'm excited about that is unique is what you saw in the video, the exterior branding walls with the wave and with the Go Coast and the with the individual doing the butterfly move. That just draws you in, and then that takes you to that monument sign, which Jason had a lot of input on, and we worked really well on that concept, and we were a little anxious about what it would turn out to look like. And with Rita's team that she pulled together, we came up with a really neat end product. So that entrance, that central entrance is really cool. And so Jason's spot on. I don't know if I could pick a better one than that. So if I were to add to that entrance is really an amazing entrance. This one right here. I just love that spot. It just draws you into the aquatic pavilion area. And so it's fun.
I was trying to get to it, Michael, but I failed.
You had it, I think, on the very first
did.
one. Go back.
I did. Give me a sec. I don't want to make everybody dizzy circling through these. Yeah, here we go. Let me share this guy right here.
Yeah, so what's cool about this is that we're looking from a parking lot, and so we'll park, and then this is what you see. And architecturally, you could see that your eye is just drawn to those doors, and these signs, these graphics pull you in. This monument sign to the right is purposefully designed to allow for groups of people to take photos. I think Jason coined the phrase a selfie spot, and I love that phrase. And so, you can have people gathering in here and taking just amazing photos. But while you're looking at this spot, you can see the movement concept that Rita so well described in the facade. And so this area just draws them in. And then if you go inside through those doors, you're going to get to that space Jason just talked about. So I love this part about the building. One of our themes, I'll just add, was to be iconic, and this entrance lends itself to meeting those themes. And that iconic word stemmed from their initial proposal. We that developed organically in our meeting, and so it was great.
Yeah. I would say my favorite space is this one here. I don't think I shared a photo of this, but it was in the video we showcased. This is the north entrance that brings you into the offices, which the entrance is off this image to the left. But where you see the word Pirates up ahead, that's an entrance to get you into the main circulation core that takes you into all the different program pieces. Part of the reason I love this is because one thing we didn't touch on is that wood material that you're seeing. This is a metal panel that has the finish to look like wood. The idea with that is that wood is reflective of your pool deck. And so there's little touches like that throughout the building that don't necessarily lend themselves to the concept of movement, but they do lend themselves to the concept of what this building is, which is athletics and aquatics as well. There's something really awesome about this view when you drive up to it. It's this really big cantilever that kind of juts out over you and protects you. There's a variety of seating here that we worked with our landscape architect to develop. And so this space, you wouldn't know that you're coming to an aquatics facility when you come here, and that's fine. It's intended to have a different feel than the feel of the other entrances. And so it does have this, pretty magnificent, awesome feeling as you approach it, but it still feels pretty warm. This would be my favorite component of it. I try to come here and take photos and videos whenever I can, if I ever need to do like a little bit. So this is, I think, also a good selfie area. You just got to do the up the face shot to get to this background behind you.
I love how all the different entrances have a different story, but it's still the same building. So it makes it really interesting. So every time you get into the facility, you have a different perspective before you get in. I think that's really cool. I also think it's very cool that it's also open to the community as well, being that it's a community college. That way everyone really gets to experience this beautiful facility that you guys have created. So that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
I don't think we have any other questions. Can we get the, yep, there we are. If you can go back up one slide, Elliot. Yes, I just wanted to mention that if there are any questions after the presentation, our presenters have very graciously offered their personal email addresses, so you can reach out to them with questions if something comes up after we're done here today. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. I just want to very quickly mention some upcoming IIDA events. San Diego has a product flyby on August 3rd and Design Connect September 21st in San Diego. Both of those are in-person events. There are also a lot of other events that will be coming up. These are just the two that are published on the website right now. Go ahead and you can go to IIDA-SoCal.org/events to see some more events that'll be announced very soon. And with that, I just want to give a really, really huge thank you to the team at Little for volunteering their time to share this beautiful project and process with all of us at IIDA, and allocating resources both from Little and OCC to put a presentation together like this. It takes a lot of time. Rita, Michael, and Jason, thank you so much for your knowledge, your expertise. I have to say, we are an interior design association. It's nice to have the clients presenting with a Little. It really shows how much of an impact this space has made amongst you guys and the campus overall. So it's really special to have you guys as part of the presentation. Little, OCC, our sponsors, Interface and Del Tile, and everyone else behind the scenes, thank you for your time and efforts making this happen today. And we're about 9 minutes before our 1 hour mark. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you again so much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.